Okay, we'll call the Wisconsin Rapids Waterworks and Lighting Commission to order. Need for approval, additions, corrections to the minutes of the following meetings. The 2.1, a regular commission meeting held on October 10th, 2018.
I move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Okay, John made the motion, Joe second. Any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, before anybody approves the special commission meeting held on October 26th, Mike Phillips wasn't there.
I have Mike Phillips there.
You do?
Maybe he was.
I thought you were just trying to see if they actually read.
Maybe in spirit.
I'm sure it's spirit.
I will check that.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the corrected minutes?
The amended?
Oh, goodness.
Also move.
Okay, John made the motion, Rick second.
No, Rick made the motion.
Oh, Rick made the motion, John second, okay.
Yeah.
All in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, action items. Commission-owned land in the town of Grant.
I put a map in front of you just for reference. The black square in the upper left or upper right-hand corner of the map is the 62 acres that we currently hold in that area out of the 260 we started with. We got an offer last week from the individuals that actually bought the first section of land, wanting to buy this last section. This last section is probably the least buildable. It's got the most wetlands and the least amount of wooded area, so it's probably the least desirable piece of property that was out there. We countered back and they agreed to the amount after we talked to our agent. We came up with a price of right around $22.50. So the number we came up with was $2,222 an acre. Comes out to $137,500 is what the offer was on this piece of land. So it's just short of 62 acres.
And so which one was the first one?
The first one was the bottom.
This one, okay.
Bottom.
So it'd be, okay.
Yep. We would close early January is what the plan is for this, if approved.
I'm sorry, when did you say you closed?
Early January.
Okay.
With this, I know last month we talked about, I think it was last month, about the money that was held for the testing of the water. Would that come again and when you sell this property?
That was all taken care of when we initially put everything up for sale. So all those wells were capped and that was all expensed at that time.
All right.
So is this the last portion or is this one?
This is the last portion. So the portion right below it, we sold a 40 and then they subsequently divided it into 220s.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I would move that we approve the sale of the last 62 acres of the Grant property at the cited price.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Joe seconded. Is there any other discussion? Any other comments? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. Department updates. Safety Committee. It looks like you reviewed the fall protection program.
Yes.
I take it that's not for the season of fall, like falling off the poles or a lot of...
No, it's actually protecting us from the leaves that are coming down. We'll get distracted, so it's making sure we're focused on the seasonal safety issues that we get until it's just fall, people falling off.
Is that pretty much like tying, making sure you have secure belts on and
Correct.
buckets?
Correct. The guys up in the buckets. It also applies to the water department in regards to, using the fall protection harnesses for confined space entry rescue. So yeah, all the equipment and procedures that we have in place for that we cover in training.
Good, thank you.
You're very welcome.
The SDS auditing hasn't started yet?
Sean Reimer and I go through and do that here and there. We'll just kind of walk through, see what kind of chemicals we can find, and then we go back into his office and we look for the different SDS sheets that we need to make sure we have on file. It's kind of a checks and balances for the whole process. So far he's been doing okay. We're keeping tabs on him though.
No issues.
No, we've had no issues. There's been a few that we have had a rough time finding. So when we have a rough time finding one, we'll kind of challenge the guys that, okay, do we actually need this? Or is it that old that we can maybe get an updated chemical to take care of the same thing? So we've been able to work through
You've
everything
got
we needed
them
to.
all in the new format, the EHS?
Sean, how many MSDSs do we have? Not many.
Probably around 200, I would say.
SDSs or MSDSs?
Oh, MSDS is left.
MSDSs.
Oh, probably 3 or 4, not many at all.
So you've got it all updated?
Yes, absolutely, as of last year.
And there are the ones that we do have MSDSs for, the old version. It's not for lack of trying or lack of anything that Sean's doing. It's the companies at that point. Sometimes the most recent version they have is an MSDS. Even though they're required to have them all updated as of like, I think it was July of 2016, some companies just don't have them updated. Some companies we have chemicals for that the company is out of business. So there is no way to update it. So all we need, which is directly to regulations, that as long as we have the most recent copy, even if it is an MSDS, that's still okay because it's the most recent copy.
Okay, this is deja vu. I remember we talked about this. They changed the MSDS to an SDS?
Yes.
Just a safety data sheet? Is that
They determined MSDS was just way too many initials and way too big of an anagram there, acronym there. They wanted to lower it to 3 letters.
But they also did a change in format,
Correct.
yeah, and
Correct.
disclosure level.
It's consistency throughout globally. It's the GHS Global Harmonization System back in 2013 that came in that basically stated if you're making an SDS, they need to go by each SDS has 16 sections that are all the same no matter what. Previous to that, you could have it however you wanted to, which made it extremely hard to look for certain things, information that you're looking for on those. So
Chemicals that predate the change. So what is it that we have around here that's that old?
the one that we found, there was one that was a silicone powder that we had like 7 or 8 bottles of it left that I think, Josh, I think the guys put some in their gloves.
Glove dust?
Yeah, glove dust. That, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm guessing that when we ordered it, we probably ordered a lot, and we're just still working off of that. The company that made that powder, I found some things online. I think it went out of business in like 2010, 2011. So it's darn near impossible to find anything new from this company at all. So when we get through those, we'll just find a new glove dust and move forward with it. But there's no point in getting rid of what we have because it's still more than fine to use.
Any other comments? Okay, how about we'll move to the line superintendent report.
Josh, can you give some examples of the customer problems that you're seeing?
Usually it's like a main breaker that trips on their side.
Okay.
They don't know it.
Oh, okay.
Or a lot of times it'll be a GFI that trips. They think they have hard power, but they really don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the wire failure, what's that about?
Failed equipment wire? Yeah, that one, there was 3 bad switches and a bad pole for those 4. So that's just common, I guess. The porcelain switches break when you have freezing and thawing temperatures. That's the common time for them to break.
from that Cranberry Townhomes, when, they're getting close to completion, right? When would we expect to start seeing some?
I think there are already, right?
Are they, some occupied already? Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, they started occupying the first couple buildings, just as they were building the next two.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Anything else? If not, the water department report.
I see the water levels, I've been watching that water levels with as much rain as we've been having the last couple of months. I was expecting to see it go up, but looks like it's finally up.
Stays pretty consistent.
It's amazing, take Highway 13 south, and the water table is above ground along there.
I haven't been down that way in a while, but,
Yeah, miles of water table above ground.
huh.
And I guess congratulations to Andy Kaminsky, 26 years working for the commission. Hope he has a great retirement.
He's busy.
If there's nothing else, customer report, support, supervisor's report. You know, you have here that you sent out the water bill and the tax rolls to the landlords. And it came to $60,000. How many landlords do we have that use?
Landlords just put a water bill.
You know, like a number of landlords, like 50, 60.
Gosh, I mean, I don't know exactly how many landlords we have, but I don't know if there has to be at least that many, if not more.
Okay.
You know, not everybody is a part of the landlord association too. Some people just have one or two properties,
Yeah, yeah.
It's a significant number.
Yeah, it must be. That's quite a bill.
A lot of them have sewer as well.
Yeah, of course, probably half of it is, right? Whatever the water bill is, the other part of it is the sewer.
Right.
And you have the calls made and the disconnections, and it looks like it stays around the same, you know, a little under 80% over all those years.
We were kind of
Pretty
surprised
interesting.
about that too.
You know,
On the complaints, was there I don't recall in 2014, was there some type of issue or whatever?
I think that's when all of the water, we had all of the freeze-ups in the winter when I mean, the water crews were really working.
Okay.
I think that's where some of that must have
Generated
increased that
something.
number.
And that was a statewide trend when they showed us the number. You could definitely see the spike in 2014.
Yeah.
You called out a discussion at the Public Service Commission meeting about staff. Do you care to comment on that at all for us?
Well, they built a new building. So when we went, that's where we had our meeting. And they gave us a tour of that and showed us all the new staff members that were there. And then we were able to tour their facility.
So a huge increase in staff?
No, there wasn't a huge increase, but they just went over any of their new staffing that they had for the year in
Been a
comparison
lot
to
of
last year.
turnover at both the electric and the water side at PSC the last few years. And they moved into a rather nice building as well. I was there for a meeting when we did the grid modernization meeting. But brand new building, pretty much right next to their old one down the road.
Any other comments? If not, let's go to customer, no, we just did that one. Director of Finance report.
It's not too hard to figure out who the complainer is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, my comment on that is they are indeed profitable,
Okay,
and they are indeed paying down debt.
good.
And it is a bit surprising that we're getting this pushback.
And what we're kind of hopeful for is once we get the cost of service done and then the rate design created, they'll see what that increase is for the industrial customers, and hopefully at that point then drop their right to contest the case, and then it'll go through as normal. But until we get to that point, we don't know where we'll end up.
There's no fundamental challenge to the calculations we've presented or the case that we've presented.
The point they made was just that the 13.7% increase that it had would be burdensome to the company.
It was pretty much just a vanilla intervention filing, not much in it.
Just need to see some of our CDs have hit 3%. That's good.
It is nice to see.
Any other comments? If not, the Information Systems Administrator report.
Matt, between you or Todd, do we get like a time report or something on Smart Hub? I've been seeing some, I'm going to call them outages or whatever on Smart Hub, where it goes a couple of days of, I assume it's a transmission thing or something like that, but there's several days of no information.
Oh, that could be when we actually had an issue
Okay.
this last month.
Okay. Oh,
where-
maybe that was it.
Yeah, where we had some readings that weren't coming in, and then on Thursday, we did an update to the system.
Okay.
And that update to the system, there was a secondary change that needed to be made that they didn't let us know until we figured out that the readings weren't coming in, so.
Oh, okay.
Everything started coming back in. I think Thursday, last readings would have been on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday were all missing
Okay.
until Monday when we found the issue and we got it fixed, and then I pushed those.
I was hoping my usage was zero.
Yeah. and-
No, you're saying no.
So there was a couple of things that
Okay.
that brought that about, but hopefully we got it smooth sailing now.
Okay.
GDS.
Yeah, what does that stand for?
I think it's the names of the founders.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah, but I don't even remember the founders' names. But it's the same company that we use for our NERC regulations. I've been using them for probably 7 years now. And so they also do cybersecurity. So they're actually flying up from Atlanta today and then meeting with Matt and I tomorrow.
Find out what the initials mean.
I'll do that.
I'm glad you brought that up, John. I'm always throwing that hard about that stuff. GDS. Good.
Should have put GDS because
Is there anything else? If not, the Conservation Manager's report.
I'd just like to say great job on the open house. It's always neat to see the number of people and how everything's set up so nicely and everything, so good job.
Thanks for attending.
But I did note that one of the commissioners in his work did not have the proper safety equipment on. notice that in the picture, but I noticed that. So. And it looks like we're almost towards that end of that potential period with Ocean Spray.
We actually just closed everything back in this today. We were a day ahead of schedule, so we did that right before the meeting, so we're all good. They have a little
No hiccups?
Yeah, no hiccups. They got a little bit of tear out, still scheduled for the next couple days, but should be all good now.
Any other questions? If not, the Director of Engineering and Electrical Operations report.
Have we heard anything more about this potential?
No, I always keep in touch
Project.
with Adam Tagan. I think he's sick of me bugging him, but I always ask about every couple weeks if he's heard anything, and nothing yet.
Okay.
That gives it the official go ahead. Okay.
Well, apparently we didn't get the Amazon headquarters.
No.
So we don't have to worry about that.
If there's nothing, how about we move to the General Manager's report?
So this is a new squirrel cage now, here, this October 19th thing. Is there a way to protect that as well?
Yeah, every time we have an issue on an actual transformer or pole, we then go ahead and squirrel protect it at that time before we restore it. So that particular pole is okay again, but we have, quite a few places where we got that double circuit that we've been trying to get rid of, particularly along 16th Street. So we're going to just keep continuing to work on that through the years and, get that down as best we can.
On the glue meeting, I missed the glue meeting. Did that go well?
It was well attended and went pretty quickly, a little quicker than last year, so it was good. And I had a much shorter speech, so it was good.
Oh,
Shame to have missed it.
I told him also to stop, instead of having 4 or 5 presentations, we're only keeping it to 2 or 3, so it's get out of here a lot quicker.
anything good from those presentations there? I know last year was a
Jeff
good one from
Todd
Public
there. I
Service.
thought they had some good information on battery storage, where that kind of headed. So,
Yeah, that's probably the best one of the three. And then the Public Service Commission, Martin Day, administrator, was there talking about some other things there too. So.
Okay.
Anything else?
the Mayor's Youth Council will be out at our facility at about 3:30 today to get a short tour, and then they're going to have their meeting here, so.
Oh, cool.
Tyler's got the duty of giving them a tour, so.
Cool.
That's it?
That's it.
Let's see, accounts payable, check register.
On page 2, that Wisconsin Department of Revenue gross revenue license, what is that? I don't know.
That's our charge for revenue that we earn outside the city limits. So we pay Pilot for our assets inside the city limits,
Okay.
but for revenue we earn outside the city limits, we need to pay this gross revenue fee. It's what all the IOUs pay.
Okay.
That's always kind of the benchmark when they talk about the difference between IOUs and the municipals, is that they just pay this gross revenue fee.
So that's tax you pay on outside revenue, outside our area?
Yep, outside the city
And
limits.
what exactly do we have outside our,
So it's Grand Rapids, it's Kellner, it's going out towards Clover, it's Seneca,
whoever we supply electricity to outside of our area?
outside of the city limits, right? So
And how is it calculated? Is it
it's a percentage of revenues. Yeah, I think it's 3.17% or something like that.
Okay.
How does that compare to pilot?
That's not an appropriate. It doesn't. I mean, it's a lot lower, but the state's not our owners either.
It's a good.
But it's an advantage for the investor owned just because that's all they have to pay. But we can still keep our rates lower.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it doesn't, none of that money comes back to the local communities. It goes to the state, it stays there.
You've been benchmarked for pilot, right?
I don't know.
You know, in line with what John just brought up about pilot, if you're an investor-owned utility, and I know a high percentage of the earnings go in dividend, is there a benchmark that you have to hold if you're a utility and you're investor-owned? Or can you do whatever you want with how much you pay your stockholders?
I think it's their choice how much they pay out in dividends and don't.
They still go through the PSC for rates of return. And
Right.
the PSC authorizes their rates, but part of that rate is going to be based on the dividend they're paying back to their
Okay.
shareholders.
Yeah, typically their rates of return are authorized much higher than
Yeah.
what municipals are because of the stockholders.
On page 4 of 5, Solomon Transformers, the breaker disposal, holy cow.
Yeah,
That's expensive, huh?
what we found with these high voltage breakers that we replaced is that the SF6 gas that's inside of them is one of the main ozone hazards that's out there. So they actually gave us a deal at cost. So
Really?
It's a fluorochemical compound.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't realize that it was as bad as it was, but apparently it's one of the top ozone heaters out there, I
Okay,
guess.
so they have to be really careful with the
Right.
disposal.
Yeah.
And this was a number of breakers that have kind of piled
Yeah.
up
Oh,
over
okay.
the years. It wasn't
All
like
right.
one breaker.
Oh, okay.
So-
Over the last probably 5 years, we've replaced pretty much all of our 46 kV breakers, and we've had them just in the yard,
Okay.
the ones we've replaced. So we did the whole lot at one time. So it wasn't like it was one breaker, it was more like about 8 breakers.
And where are they out of?
Solomon's out of Prairie du Chien, locally, Solomon, Kansas, I guess. is their headquarters. They do all of our salvage stuff right now.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of transformer stuff for us. We're getting a lot higher returns than we were previously just on the metals that they're recuperating out of
Okay.
us.
Is there anything else? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'd so move.
Second?
Okay, Rick made the motion, John second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.